Here at HCF Central, going to be doing a 4-cell move on inmate Tyler, first name William.
Good. Stop. Move your legs.
Into his lungs.
So I referred to incident that I talked about them having isolation pretty tough in Kansas prisons, and there's a thing called more restricted area, and so I ended up getting a video about a time when I had got caught with drugs in a Kansas prison cell. It's actually at a Hutchinson Correctional Facility. I had been in the hole. I had been on MRA status for like possession of weapons. So and then so they put me on MRA. And then the only way we could pass drugs through some of those situations, was and we were all high, and it was I was high at the time. I made it a point to I put some drugs inside my laundry bag and asked the officer if he would pass it down a couple cages, because we couldn't. It wasn't next to another cage where normally we could just pass stuff like that through the fence down the line, but there's one group of cages that were separated by a few feet. So I had to ask the officer, who's was like, hey man, will you pass this laundry bag down there to him? And he would step back, yeah, I'll get it to him, and he dumped it down and took it all apart, and he found the drugs. So anyways, then I go inside, and they take me inside, and so they put me back in my regular ad seg cell, and so now I'm in there. Well, then the officers come back, and the lieutenant, and they came back and they said, hey man, you got caught with drugs, you're going back to MRA. And I said, no, I'm not. I didn't. No, I'm not. I'm not going back there. And they said, oh yeah, you are. You're going to cuff up. You're going to go back, or we're going to make you go back. I said, okay, well, I'm ready. Come on in. And how and people who've been in prison know how that goes. It's like you're either going to cuff up, and go where they want you to go, or they're gonna come in and they're gonna mace you, and they're gonna beat you up and force you to go. And so, but anyways, they didn't. I had a standoff that night. They didn't come back. That night, I told them, hey, I'm ready to do whatever you want to do. They came back a couple times talking to me, but they never came back. Then it was like 2 days later. I think they wanted me to come down because they knew that I was on drugs and this and that. So they wanted me to come down. Maybe I'd make a better choice. And that didn't happen. They came back, and about 2 days later, and it kind of surprised me. But anyways, I have a video of that, and so we're going to share some aspects of that video just to show what it looked like, what it looked like with them. They maced myself for about 10 minutes, and and then they came in, and then they came in also with the shock shield. So they shocked me out, like they came in like 4 deep, full regalia, with helmets and knee pads and chest plates and all that stuff. And I had made a little web that shocked me, and I have flashes of memory of it. But I have a recording of it because I had a lawsuit. A picture's worth 1,000 words. A lot of people who haven't been in that situation. Anyone who's been in that situation, they know exactly what it is. Now I'm off parole. I'm out. I'm also been clean and sober for 2 years. So it's a different, you're looking at me, it's like, oh wow, this guy, But to see that, I was still, involved in that kind of drama, and it's pretty, like I said, a picture's worth 1,000 words. It also shows, what they did afterwards, because I withstood the cell extraction. Then they made me submit and cuff up from inside. They came inside the cell. They subdued me, shocked me, and they proceeded to torture me or whatever they wanted to do. Then they got me out of there, but I was left there on my feet, and I walked out, and they took me to the back room, and then you could see them trying to kind of hide the camera, and they got me to the back room, and then they stripped me down, beat me, got me naked, beat me on the floor. I was rendered unconscious. I don't even remember any of that. I don't even remember any of it. I remember bits and pieces. I thought a lot of that stuff happened in the cell. It actually happened in the back, in the shower area. And this prison is notorious for that. But I mean, all these prisons have been notorious for that. That's what they do. So, but yeah, Hutch was real bad for attacking people and putting them in MRA cell. If the police beat you up really bad, they would take you and put you in the MRA cell till your swelling went down. That's what they did with me after this. Like I was, and you can see me on the video. I'm bleeding, and and I'm messed up pretty good. And you can see them asking me like, hey, what happened? And I was in fear for my life at the time. So I'm like, yeah, nothing happened. I fell down. I'm okay. They're like, you don't want to be medically clear? I'm like, no, I'm fine. Nothing happened to me. And you can see I'm bleeding out of my eye. And I'm like, and I had and I mean, I'm gonna have to have these 4 teeth replaced because and that come from trauma, from them knocking them, against the floor or whatever they did. And like I said, I don't know. And then they also broke my shoulder, and I didn't find out till I was out. And I had I had extreme pain in my shoulder while I was working, and I thought it's just from repetitive motions and stuff like that. And I went down and had a MRI, and the people told me, they said, well, when did this happen? Like, no, your shoulder's been dislocated and it's been broken, and you would know there's a chip from the humeral head down here in your arm, a big old chip. They're like, you would know when this happened. And I was like, okay, well, the only time that could have happened was then, so those things happened. And when I got out, I also lost the kind of the will for the lawsuit. I had too much on my plate. Like I just wanted to, I was out and I was free. So my initial plan was I'm not dealing with these people on any level. I'm going to be I was still resigned to being a criminal and resigned to being a drug addict and resigned to being all that kind of stuff. And so I wasn't going to play any of those games with those people. But it ended up, fate, destiny, divine guidance, whatever, it ended up leading me, ended up staying here, ended up doing parole. But I had already dropped the lawsuit. I was gonna really handle it myself, the truth is. And I ended up figuring it out. By the time I got around to looking back into things, and I actually did. I got the record of the lawsuit and all that stuff, and that's how I ended up with the video. I have all the documents and all the case law from because I had to research it. There's a lot to it, and there hasn't been any progress that I know of in Kansas since this is still active conditions. I bet there's still there's still a handful of people sitting in MRA cells at Hutch and at El Dorado. There probably is a way to revive it and go into open it up and do all that. But you know what? I'm gonna do other things with my time and with my energy. And the same thing. It's like I did a lot of wrong. I did a whole lot of wrong. I mean, me introducing drugs into their prisons, introducing gangs, introducing all this kind of stuff. And it could be arguable, again, that like, well, they still don't have a right to do that kind of stuff. And I agree. I don't think they have a right to abuse you and do all that stuff too. But I just look at it that, I brought a lot of that stuff on myself, and I'm glad to be free of it. This is where I live. I don't live in a dungeon. I actually have a life. I have a career. I have married. I have a whole lot going for me. I'm in society, respected, productive member of society. Have I forgiven them? What's crazy. The answer is yes. That could sound, soft or weak. There's an adage that says that, resentment is like drinking poison and wanting your enemy to suffer. That's one thing. So the resentment isn't going to do anything for me. So it's like also there have been some things that have shown me, like since I've been out, that no one's out to get me. Even those guys, even though it might seem like by watching the video, it's like it could be pretty triggering. Like, damn, like those guys were definitely out to get me that day. But the thing is, those guys are all, why are they at work? That's not what they do. At Kansas, they start at $17 an hour. So it's like they're not, no one's seeking that out as a career. Like, and then it's usually like a career of last resort. So it's like, anyways, those people trying to put food on the table, trying to pay the bills. Someone told them to do that. Hey man, you're going to go in here, you're going to do this. These guys were all just, and so it's like, but I'm over it, and moved on with my life.